Hey everybody, and welcome to Girls Rock Michiana 2020 Virtual Camp. I am your guitar instructor, Kevin Joyner. Things are working a little differently this year, obviously, but I am always happy to be a part of this. This is, I think, my third year doing this, and if any of you are coming back this year, welcome. I'm glad to have you here. Well, let's jump in. Guitar. Don't know whether or not you have a guitar at home right now, or if you're just perusing this video to see if it's something you're interested in. If you do have a guitar, or you get a guitar later, you can always, come back and look at the video. But if you do have a guitar now, you may have an acoustic uh, like this, or something like this. Could look a little bit different, but basically like this. Or you might have an electric, which could look something like this. Now, the main differences between an electric and an acoustic are the way in which the sound is made louder, basically. Still produced the same way. You put your hands on it and you strum the strings, right? But when you do it with a guitar is usually, it'll be solid all the way through. Sometimes it's chambered. This one's actually chambered, so there's a little bit of hollow in the wood on this side, but it's also solid over here. It's called semi-hollow. But because of that, it doesn't have the natural resonance that an acoustic guitar has. It doesn't make the sound louder on its own. So you need something to help it out. And so we use electricity, which is why they call it an electric guitar. And what happens is you've got these little things here. You see this little silver rectangle, and then this black slanted thing right here. Those are called pickups, and they pick up the vibrations of the strings, the sound of the strings, and they turn it into electricity, and then they send that through a wire, a cable, to the amplifier. The amplifier turns it from electricity back into sound, and it amplifies it. It makes it louder. That's where you get the name for amplifier from. So right now I'm actually running this through my computer. It's working the same way. It's just the computer is doing all of the work to turn it back into sound and then putting it through my computer speakers. But basically, I'm just playing it through my computer as an amplifier. With the acoustic, however, I don't need an amplifier. Now I could, if I wanted to. This particular one, you can amplify it. Not all acoustic guitars do that, but you can pretty much take any acoustic guitar and you can have it turned into one that has electronics, and you could do that. For our purposes today, we're not going to worry about that. We just want to know how does an acoustic amplify the sound on its own. And it does it through the sound hole. You'll notice this is a lot thicker than that electric guitar was. It needs a lot more hollow space in there in order to take that sound and really project it. And so you notice that's all just coming through the microphone on my webcam. That's just straight from the guitar. That's the great thing about an acoustic. With an electric, you have to go places and bring your amplifier with you. If you're lucky, it's a battery-operated amplifier. Most amplifiers you have to plug in the wall, so you can't really take your electric and go to the beach or in the woods or just wherever. Just go sit out in the yard or whatever and play. But with an acoustic, you can pretty much go wherever you want. Take it on a boat if you want, and you can play it. And it's going to sound plenty loud for what you want to do. Now, in rock music and pop music, electrics and acoustics are used a lot and all over the place. But for traditional rock music, it's really the electric guitar that kind of makes the sound. So we're going to focus on electric guitar today. But if you do have an acoustic, no worries. Anything I show you on the electric can be applied to the acoustic. This is true of the basics, and it's true pretty much all the way through. There are some techniques that are that work better on electric than acoustic, but for the most part, things are interchangeable. So anything that you see on this, you can apply to if you're playing electric or you're playing acoustic, especially because these are the basics that are going to be true of any guitar. Now, when we're talking about guitar, we're generally talking about a 6-string guitar. There are some guitars that have as few as, say, 4 strings, and they can have as many as like 12 or even more than that. I own a 12-string myself, surprisingly, it is played more or less the same way. But when we're talking about 6 strings, and sometimes you'll hear a guitar referred to as a 6-string. These strings are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. From this one down here, which is the high sounding E string, that's number 1, down to the low sounding E string, which is number 6. So 1, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That was terrible, but you get the idea. Okay, so voice a little tired. All right, so same thing goes with your acoustic. Now, we want those strings to be in tune first of all. So that's the first thing we're gonna go look at. If it's not in tune, the things that you do with it aren't going to sound very good. So you want to get it as in tune as possible. Now, you'll notice that over here we have these things on this. Now, this area up here is called the headstock. Okay. You may notice we'll look at the acoustic in a second, but you may notice they look a little bit different. But they're both headstocks. It's just like a body. This is the headstock. This part is the neck, and then down here is the body. So head, neck, body, right? Doesn't have arms or legs, doesn't need them. You're providing the arms, and if you're walking around, you're providing the legs. But otherwise, head, neck, body, all right? Now the same thing goes with the acoustic, but you'll notice where the tuning pegs on the electric were all in a row, here you've got 3 up and 3 down. Not to worry, they work the same way. It's really just a question of looks for this sort of thing. So the important thing to remember is that there's 1 tuning peg per string. There's one peg to tune each string. If they go in a row, it's usually the one farthest out is the high string, and the one closest to you is the low string. On this one, they go 1, 2, 3. String 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So this is your high string. This is your low string. It kind of goes in a sort of a U shape. Okay. So we'll go back to the electric, and I'm going to click over here and show you guys my display screen. I have a tuner on my computer here through a program that I'm using, but you can buy, there's all sorts of tuners you can buy. You can buy ones that stand alone that you can either plug into, or they'll pick up the room sound. You can even get a tuner on your smartphone, and it just picks up the ambient air. There are things you can get where you can plug your guitar into your phone. It's not entirely necessary. Even with electric, if you get it close enough, you can pretty much tune it to that, just as long as you're in a quiet space. But pretty much all electric tuners are going to look like some version of, things are getting a little weird here for a second. Give me a sec. Seeing our infinite space there. All right, it's going to look something like this. Okay? So you'll notice down here, it's got these letters, right? They're kind of moving because as I'm talking, I'm vibrating the strings with my chest against the guitar a little bit, and it's picking that up. It's also a little bit of electrical noise in there, so that's why it's jumping around at the moment. So don't worry about that. Just notice that there are big letters down here. And then over here, you'll see this number 440. Whenever you're tuning, you want to make sure your tuner is set to 440. That's standard. You can tune it other ways, and if you really get into music and get into some more kind of exotic approaches, then you'll find some stuff. But in what we call Western music, which is music that is based in largely styles that came from Europe or to America, or came to America through other countries. Generally, it's based around the 440 hertz. Just remember that number 440. Usually, you won't have to change that, but if you ever notice that the number has changed, go in and change it back down to 440. Now, once we've done that, okay, then we can actually go through and start with the strings. Now, we're going to, you can kind of tune any string at any time if you want. I have my preferences, but for today, we're going to just go from the low sounding string, remember the E string, which is kind of at the top of the neck. If it's in your lap, the one that's closest to your head, that's the low E string. And we're gonna play that. Okay. Now we notice it's green there, but it's also it's a little high. So if it goes to the right like that, if it's swinging to the right, that means that hopefully the video is not flipped when you guys watch this, but if it's going to be right there, it means it's a little high. So we're actually gonna detune it a little bit and then bring it back to about the middle because we want it as close to the middle as possible. So what you do is generally, if it's too high, you want to loosen it a little bit before you tune it to where it needs to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it clockwise, and you can hear my string getting a little lower in pitch there. And then I'm going to bring it back up. We're down to D sharp now. Now we're coming back up. It's climbing back up to the E. Now, when you first start out, you may pluck too hard, you may pluck too light. It may be a little frustrating. Just keep working with it. Yeah, you just have to be patient with it. You notice it's pretty good there. It's settling about there. It may jump a little bit at first. You want to give it just literally like a second, and just see if it'll settle around that spot. So that's pretty good. So now we're going to move to the next string, which is string number 5, which is an A string. Your strings from 6 to 1 go E, A, D, G, B, E. E, A, D, G, B, E. So the 2 outside strings are both E's. But we're going to focus on the A right now and see what that is. That's a little sharp. So again, we're going to pull it down a little bit. We're going to come up very slowly, keep plucking. That's pretty good. It's hard to get it to go exactly on because, I mean, the guitar is just a very dynamic instrument. So you just want to get it pretty close to where it's solidly on that grain, and you'll be good. Now we're going to do the D string. D is a little flat, so we don't have to go under on this one. We're just going to bring it up. And there we are. Now the G string. It's pretty good. I'm gonna give it a little, going a little too far. That'll happen. All right. Now the B string. We're almost to the end. B looks great, and E's a little sharp, so we're gonna go down, and then we're gonna bring it back up until it's around the middle. And now all together. I've been playing for a long time, so my ears are trained. I can listen to that and tell that it's pretty good. But you'll probably be able to hear it a little better once you're getting used to your chords. But you hear how pretty that sounds? That means that we're where we need to be. Okay, I'm going to switch back over to the camera view for a second. All right, infinite camera thing there. Okay, there we go. So we did our E, A, D, G, B, and E. Right in a row on the tuners, right? We're all set.